you'd mentioned the Mercury retrograde. Mercury goes back to a certain point, and you can look back to where it was, when it was there last, and you could see what was, if you keep a detailed journal about like what's going on in your life, like you can make these astonishing connections about like, like when planets are at the same place where other planets were, when stuff like that happens. And I used to do that very diligently. That was actually one of my main spiritual practices, like doing various, like whether it be in combination with or just by itself, just keeping notes in combination with like readings, like tarot cards or I Ching readings, or just like keeping notes when significant things happen, and then like being able to reference those notes via astrology and stuff. That was super helpful for me. I'm not gonna lie, but I haven't been doing that as much recently. Um,
This is like the first time in my life where it's actually coincided, with like,
mhm.
it's like, oh yeah, Mercury was in retrograde. And I was like, oh yeah, I just realized I have this, and this all lining up right there. And it's like these it's personal life things that just happen to all
Yeah,
coincide.
it's interesting how like maybe there's a way where the amount of attention you pay to it or something has to do with how, like I talked about with Sherry, how there's like a freeness that can happen with astrology, but there is also like like if you obsess about the patterns, you can be like possessed by them or something like that,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Be careful whenever you're obsessed that you're not possessed.
Yes. But yes, like to keep a like this time sense that you get, like being able to connect events in your life at these various temporal stages, it brings an immense like peace and clarity if you can kind of do it without becoming crazy about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
My question is like,
Or at least it has for me
right, right, right.
in the
Um,
past when I've been more diligent about it.
yeah, I guess for me, I guess what I don't like is the idea that it's like there's a punctuated meaning, like the time is punctuated with meaningful things. That is like, as much as that seems obvious, like, I also think that every day is special. Every day is horrible. The only, whenever I feel like my consciousness gets too far into the future or too far in the past, or even in the like keeping track of things, like taking a journal, I often wonder, it's like, why am I trying to why am I trying to hold on to pieces of my past, or like, even like, I've like basically, like, I've been in the middle of writing a note and like into my phone basically, and then just realize I'd rather just think these thoughts. Like, I don't need to capture this. I don't need, and then I'll just trust that if that's like something of value or something, but I'm never going to be able to recreate this experience. So I just need to feel the experience, and then whatever parts of it that I can hold on to later, I can get. So that, but to me, that seems like really hard to do with also this idea of like the rhythms of life and the rhythms of the universe and all of these things kind of dancing and interplaying, and understanding that dance is just kind of like, I guess I just err on the side of being tossed in the waves rather than riding the waves, maybe.
Hmm. How poetically put. There was a couple things I had to like cut off our conversation yesterday because my phone was dead and um but I didn't want to like lose track of what we were saying. So I wrote down the things. And the next thing
Same.
was we were talking about
I'm
uh
also so glad that you like to write down things and remember them so that I don't have to in this case.
talk about the magic. Um
Well, words are magic, brother.
yeah, I because I wanted to, it was kind of another one of those situations when you commented on the TED Talk lady that I was thinking to respond um in a more conversational manner and
Yeah, that lady was a little. Stiff. I think.
Did you
But
kind of
then,
get my response? Like,
yes, I could pull it up. Let's pull it up.
sure.
Uh, this music stuff's just so dang easy.
Talking about the visual language lady, you were um
Oh, that's right. I
yeah.
was gonna. I remember watching that video and feeling like, yes, this is right. I'm not sure that we should be telling everyone this kind of a thing.
Did you end
Um,
up did you watch the whole did you end up
I
watching the
didn't.
whole talk?
No, I couldn't. She creeped me out. I couldn't.
Okay, well she
I didn't want to.
again, I'm not trying to shit talk this lady, all right? You know, she seems like a fine lady. I think she picked up on something of significance, you know?
Yeah,
And
it was very. It felt
um
like a very dangerous. It felt like somebody. It felt like a child wielding a weapon.
she said, use your body language consciously to affect what people think about you. And and yes, this is a superpower which we possess, in my opinion.
Right.
And it is a
Well,
sacred magic also. It is like how we can't live without it. And how I think about it is that you have to balance it, like Steiner said, right? Is that like the part where you're consciously trying to communicate must be balanced by the part where you're naturally perhaps unconsciously, perhaps intuitively, whatever, you know, implicitly maybe, you know.
hmm.
Yeah, and so she's
what
saying just
what's coming to
be completely conscious, you know, and it's like
right,
you
right.
can't.
Well, what
Yeah.
comes to mind for me is like like sports. So like in sports, you just like you do spend conscious time thinking about where your foot's gonna go or where your hand needs to be, where your arm's doing, kind of like
Mhm.
very embodied um,
Yeah, yeah,
focus, focus on the body,
yeah.
and but I've always kind of felt that like when you can tell when someone's in that like focus on the body mode, and it's really hard to think use your brain to think consciously of like this is like if you talk to a ballerina, if you talk to a athlete, like all of that stuff is practice. But when you're in the game, that's when you're like,
Yeah,
you're not thinking. You know, it's the wu
yeah.
wei or
You get
whatever.
into the
The
flow state. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I tend to trust my I trust my unconscious. You know, I don't
Mhm.
want to override the signals that my unconscious is giving. Like, why
Yeah.
would I? Um,
Yeah.
but that being said, I do. You know, it's like part of my job to do that. You know,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I don't like it.
Yeah.
Whenever I'm consciously moving my body in a way to manipulate or consciously stopping my body from doing something that it wants to do, I
Mhm.
feel like there's it's either a trade, a sacrifice, or a betrayal. You know,
Mhm.
depending on the circumstances. And so,
Yeah. How she said it is that like, she said it the same way that Galahad did, which is you know most of incoming and outgoing communication is handled by the unconscious. You know, and that's yeah. I really like the flow state idea, and you know what it also makes me think of is spiritual practice in the sense of like learning book smarts. Um, not even book smarts, but like following the law. You know, eventually the
yep,
law leads beyond the law, right?
yep. This would be Calvin, Luther, can't remember. The quote unquote second use of the law is or maybe this is the first use of the law, but it's like for training and instruction. It's like, what do we, you know, I was as a kid, I was raised in the Ten Commandments. You know, like that's deep within me. So yeah, there is a something to that. And then, but then there's also a yeah. I mean, you see this idea everywhere. Like you have to start with the fundamentals, with the basics, um, and then once you've moved to a point where
Yeah,
you know you've crossed the threshold. Once you cross that threshold, then you can use all of that structure. That structure, instead of you having to submit to the structure submits to you. It's
yeah,
just the easiest way to say it. And various experts have varying uh different views on the extent to which that process looks like pure chaos from the inside versus the outside, and whether that process looks like breaking the law.
Yeah.
It's these did something fulfill the law or break the law issues are hotly contested.
Mm, indeed. Imagine you're just like chilling outside and then like the mosquitoes just started playing a melody. That's what it usually sounds like. Oh,
That's pretty cool.
what is Byzantium reeds?
Byzantium reads, oh boy. Let's hear it.
Oh shit. I like
Helps
that.
helps if I play the right notes again.
What was I saying? There's that reminds me of one of the songs in one of Galahad's videos. I don't remember which one though. What were we
Dude, I
just
like
talking about? Do you remember? We were talking about during right
yeah, I wish we
before.
had like the 15-second on our own conversation in real time. Wouldn't that be
Mm,
fucking sick? I mean, if we were streaming, if we were live streaming, we would.
it's true.
Damn.
Oh
I'm
yeah, we
tired
were
of
talking
this
about the magic. We were talking about the magic, and then the balance, and then the balance of the conscious trusting the unconscious. Remember? And then
yes.
and then um yeah, I think it's like a well that flow state. Like Jordan Peterson talks about like the gymnastics people who do like the backflips and then everyone stands up, claps.
Yep.
Like once you notice, it's almost like the fall. Oh, I remember what I was gonna say. Yay!
Oh yeah.
It's like when a child learns to lie. You know, it's like
Oh.
it's like there's a it's almost like a fall in a way, and then it's like that's I accidentally deleted 9 minutes of edited conversation and the original recording file. So I have to try and remember, summarize in this moment what was said here. I was talking about how learning to lie is kind of like consciously using body language or any language to manipulate things in the world. And that's what this lady was perhaps promoting, and how that's kind of like a fall. But then there can be a higher reintegration, and oh gosh, um, now usually people fall on one side of the spectrum in this regard. Either they do the customer service voice, which Mo and I were talking about the previous day as well. Welcome to the McMo show. or or they fall in they're kind of oblivious to this dynamic and they're subject to it perhaps. And but there's like a balanced middle that you can find. It's like a flow state, kind of like I don't know if this part was deleted, but I think it was. But we analogized it to playing sports, and in a sports you kind of learn the technique, and then it goes beyond that. And we talked about the law. I don't know if we talked about that part in the recorded. Oh gosh, yeah, that's all I remember. We have returned from our break.
We have returned. We have returned. Because I didn't put in the message to you enough info, I can't remember it now. But like, that's a joke, but that's also like real. Like, most of my life is like that. Most of your life is just you not really necessarily remembering correctly or misremembering or like, but then there's all just like, I think that it's an aspect of like having your life hidden in Christ, where it's like I'm not sure to what extent it it really like
Like you're supposed to be aware of your own like
yeah,
destiny or something.
like there's a sense in which you can't help but kind of just remember different parts of your life and like take lessons from them. Like the salient things tend to bring themselves forward. But there's also value, I think, in letting go. And it's easier to let go for me, not like a Buddhist sense of letting go where it's like my life is meaningless, I have no desire, but more so that like my best friend in the whole world like created all of this and like wanted me to do this one, wanted me to live this one life. And um he remembers. I don't have to remember. There is obviously value in discipline, but I could also argue that it's a type of discipline to not worry.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
I guess it's just like I don't know at what spot the like yeah, maybe I might be spiritual bypassing or something, that's what they would tell me I was doing. Is that I'm just like I'm giving it all up to God.
I definitely think there is a way in which like a healthy dose of blindness and like is appropriate, like does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's a weird line because in some sense it's like that's totally what's up and what we should be doing or something. Like not I but Christ in me, thy will be done type of stuff, you know. Um, but on the other hand, there's like a sense in which that can just turn into um like not, like not having any of your own sort of
Responsibility, responsibility, responsibility. You're way more than you think, man. Stand up.
identity in some sense. Like it's weird, like it's me in Christ. It's not just Christ without me or something.
Yeah.
Like I'm not sure.
I'm hoping to like fully give myself up and completely forget myself in Christ
Yeah.
and hopefully have myself for like not have myself forgotten. That's the key. Like I'm trying to forget
Yeah.
myself, but I'm having by faith trusting that I'm not being forgotten.
Yeah.
There is kind of a reciprocal thing, the connecting point between the embodied communal and the absurd mysticism is the leap of faith and the trust required to uh, be vulnerable in forgetting myself in front of you, kind of a thing. Like to leave my existence up to your perceptions,
Yeah.
and vice
But what's
versa.
interesting to me is that when you do that, we can then find ourselves doing quote unquote work after that kind of modal shift, like in the sense where we can conceive of prayer as being in service to or a fruit of that mode that you just described of kind of self-forgetting, right?
Yep.
And I think in a way maybe there's a way where we could think about like note taking or like astrological um chart looking at or something like or actually going outside like as as like as the same kind of thing, kind of like a prayer where it's like it can be, it doesn't have to necessarily be like a self-remembering type of thing, like it can be, I don't know, like in a way, it takes me away from my immediate conception of self as well to remember back to different times where I was or something. But that's kind of pushing it a little bit. Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe when we listen back to this, we won't think that it is. But
Perhaps. Shall we shall we transition?
yeah, let's
All right, I
transition.
think I was thinking we should do different light colors such that one can tell which which part of the recording is playing.
All right, I'll change.
But I must locate my remote for this to occur.
This remote.
Ah, I see you've stolen my remote.
Simple and easy.
All right. Welcome to my editing studio. Here, it's an open eye movie. Did you see I made that video a long time ago. How to make objectively awesome YouTube clips. Did you see that?
I think that that was one of like maybe the first couple of videos I saw on your channel.
Yeah,
Maybe if it's the one I'm thinking of.
yeah, I
But I
did.
think I have seen it. Yeah,
Yeah, I genuinely wanted to
I don't remember anything you said in it, but
yeah. I don't know, I basically just felt weird the whole time because it's like this is kind of like a me in my prayer closet type of vibe, you know?
yes. Well, to speak from, I felt the exact same way about not the exact same way because I have shared my inner sanctum before. uh, uh, but yes, it is, and it is a holy thing to be invited into someone's workspace.
Yes. Perhaps. Oh wow, we got back at the exact same time. What the fuck?
Yeah, that's pretty
Um,
cool.
yeah. My the steaks just came off the grill.
Ooh,
So I think I'm
yeah,
gonna I'm gonna eat and you could eat with your wife and such if you so
cool.
desire.
Yeah,
And
you want
yeah,
to reconvene at like 8:15,
sounds about right.
30 minutes?
Yeah,
Perfect.
cool. All right.
Over now.
Peace.